The rain came down like God's own fury that night in Barcelona, turning the narrow alleys of the Gothic quarter into slick rivers of regret. I stood there, soaked to the bone, my heart pounding harder than the thunder rolling in from the Mediterranean, as Violet's words hung between us like a guillotine blade. "Vic, I can't do this. It's not me." Her voice cracked, not with conviction, but with the kind of desperation that comes from loving someone you shouldn't. And just like that, the world I'd built around us, two American girls chasing sunsets and sangria in Spain, shattered into a million jagged pieces. It hadn't always been this way. Violet and I had met back in college at UCLA, thrown together as freshman roommates in a cramped dorm that smelled like instant ramen and unwashed dreams. I was Victoria Hale, the theater kid from Seattle with a chip on my shoulder the size of the Space Needle, always auditioning for roles I knew I'd never land because they wanted exotic types, not half-Italian girls with too much fire in their veins. Violet Kensington was the polar opposite. Pre-law golden girl from Orange County, blonde hair that caught the California sun like it was made for her, and a laugh that could disarm a room full of skeptics. She was straight as an arrow, or so she swore. Endless parade of frat boys and finance bros, each one more forgettable than the last. But me? I'd known I was gay since I was 14, kissing my best friend under the bleachers at a rainy soccer game. It wasn't a phase, it was my truth, wrapped in flannel shirts and quiet rebellions. We clicked anyway, like puzzle pieces that didn't quite fit but made a prettier picture for it. Through late-night cram sessions fueled by Starbucks runs and bad rom-com marathons, we became each other's anchors. When I came out to my conservative Italian family over FaceTime, my nana crossing herself like I'd announced a cult membership, Violet was the one who held my hand through the static Y sobs. "You're my person, Vic," she'd say, pulling me into one of those hugs that lingered just a beat too long, her perfume, something floral and expensive, lingering on my skin like a promise she didn't know she was making. Fast forward 5 years, and here we were in Spain, our gap year adventure after she bailed on law school and I flunked out of my MFA program. Let's just live, you know? No regrets. She'd texted me from LX, her boarding pass clutched like a lifeline. We'd landed in Madrid first, all wide-eyed and jet-lagged, devouring churros con chocolate in the Plaza Mayor while street performers juggled fire. But Barcelona? That was where the magic and the madness began. The city pulsed with a rhythm that matched our own restless hearts. Gaudi's whimsical architecture twisting like our inside jokes, the Ramblas alive with flower stalls and pickpockets, the sea air thick with salt and possibility. Our Airbnb was a tiny flat in the Bourne district, all exposed brick and creaky wooden beams, with a balcony overlooking a courtyard where old ladies gossiped over espresso. We'd wake to the clang of church bells and stumble out for café con leche, plotting our days like generals. Sagrada Familia in the morning, paella by the beach at night. Violet thrived on it, the chaos, the freedom. "This is what life's about, Vic," she'd say, her blue eyes sparkling as we clinked glasses of vermouth on a terrazzo. No schedules, no expectations. Just us. Just us. God, if only I'd seen the weight of those words sooner. But I was too busy falling slow and steady, like autumn leaves in Golden Gate Park. It started innocently enough. Her head on my shoulder during a midnight screening of Before Sunrise at a pop-up cinema by the port, her fingers tracing lazy circles on my arm as we whispered about what we'd say if we met our soulmates in a foreign city. Then came the nights when the wine flowed too freely, her confessions spilling out like secrets from a diary. All those guys. They were placeholders, you know? I was waiting for something real. I'd gnawed my throat tight, pretending I didn't hear the echo of my own longing in her voice. One evening in late June, we hiked up to Park Güell, the sun dipping low and painting the mosaic dragons in hues of fire. Sweaty and breathless, we collapsed on a bench overlooking the city, the sprawl of Barcelona glittering below like a lover's promise. Violet turned to me, her face flushed, and said, "Vic, what if? What if the person you're meant for is right in front of you?" My heart stopped. I searched her eyes, those endless blue pools, for the punchline, but there was none. Just raw, unguarded hope. I leaned in, my lips brushing hers in a kiss that tasted like salt and stardust, tentative at first, then fierce like we'd both been starving for years. She pulled back, gasping but not in horror. In wonder. "Holy shit," she whispered, her hand still cupped against my cheek. "That was. I don't know what that was, but I want more." We tumbled back to the flat in a haze of laughter and stolen touches, the door barely closing before her mouth was on mine again. It wasn't about labels or lightning bolts. It was us finally seeing each other. That night, tangled in sheets that smelled of lavender and sea breeze, we mapped each other's bodies with the reverence of explorers claiming uncharted land. No rush, no frenzy. Just the quiet unraveling of souls who'd waited too long to collide. The next morning, sunlight slanted through the shutters like accusatory fingers. Violet stirred beside me, her hair a wild halo, and for a moment everything was perfect. She smiled, sleepy and soft, pressing a kiss to my collarbone. Morning, gorgeous. We spent the day wandering La Boqueria market, fingers intertwined under the stalls of fresh figs and jamon, stealing bites of empanadas and whispering plans for forever. Maybe we stay here, she mused, licking honey from her thumb. Open a little cafe. You make the art, I handle the books. I laughed, pulling her close. As long as it's with you. But cracks form in even the sturdiest foundations, especially when built on borrowed time. A week later, her phone buzzed incessantly during dinner at a seaside tapas bar in Barceloneta. She glanced at the screen, her face paling. It's my ex, Tyler. He's in Madrid for work. Wants to grab coffee. I forced a smile, ignoring the twist in my gut. Go if you want. Catch up. But she didn't. She silenced it, ordered another round of cava, and kissed me under the stars until the world faded. Still, the shadows lingered. Violet started pulling away in subtle ways, longer silences during our walks along the Passeig de Gracia, where high-end shops mocked our shoestring budget, excuses to check her email alone on the balcony while I sketched the gargoyles of the cathedral. Just family stuff, she'd say, but her eyes darted like a deer sensing hunters. I chalked it up to post-kiss jitters. After all, she'd spent 25 years building a life around being straight. What we had was new, terrifying. Give her time, I told myself, tracing the curve of her shoulder as she slept. Then came the storm. We'd planned a weekend in the Costa Brava, renting a beat-up Fiat to chase hidden coves and cliffside villages. The drive was pure joy. Windows down, playlist blasting Fleetwood Mac and Rosalia, her hand on my thigh as we sang off-key. But by the time we reached Cadax, Salvador Dali's old haunt, with its whitewashed houses tumbling to turquoise waters, tension simmered like the heat off the hood. That night, over grilled sardines and Albarino at a seaside Tosca, her phone lit up again. This time she answered. I watched from across the table as her face cycled through surprise, delight, then something darker, guilt. Yeah, Tyler, it's been forever. Madrid? That's. Wow, only a couple hours away. Laughter bubbled from her, light and familiar, the kind she'd never used with me. When she hung up, she met my eyes, defiant. He's just a friend, Vic, old-time sake. But friends don't make your voice tremble like that. We drove back in silence, the radio a cruel intermediary. By the time we hit the outskirts of Barcelona, the sky had bruised purple, and fat drops began to pelt the windshield. Pull over, she said suddenly, her tone sharp. I did, on a deserted stretch of highway flanked by olive groves. The rain hammered the car like judgment. Violet, what's going on? I demanded, turning to her. Water streamed down the windows, blurring the world outside. She stared at her hands, twisting her silver high school ring, the one Tyler had given her. I don't know who I am anymore. With you. It's like I've been asleep my whole life and now I'm awake but terrified. What if this us is just a phase? What if I go back home and everyone sees right through me? My chest ached. Then we figure it out together. That's what we do. But she shook her head, tears mingling with rain on her cheeks. I called him back earlier. Told him to meet me in Madrid. I need to see if what we had was real or if this is. Betrayal hit like a slap. So that's it? One night, and now you're running back to the safe choice. It's not safe, Vic. It's familiar. And God, I hate myself for it. She reached for the door but I grabbed her wrist. Don't. Please. She wrenched free, stepping into the downpour. I can't breathe here. Not right now. And then she was gone, vanishing into the sheets of rain, leaving me with the engine's idle hum and a heart carved hollow. I didn't sleep that night. Curled on the balcony of our flat, wrapped in a blanket that still carried her scent, I watched the city lights flicker like distant campfires, signals from lives that weren't unraveling. Barcelona with its eternal summer buzz felt mocking now. Couples entwined on scooters zipping past, laughter spilling from open windows, the faint strum of a guitar from some hidden fiesta. How could the world keep spinning when mine had tilted off its axis? By dawn I'd made up my mind. No chasing, no begging. If Violet needed to test her straight girl armor one last time, I'd let her. But I'd be damned if I waited around like some tragic heroine in a Tennessee Williams play. I booked a solo train to Valencia, orange groves and paella heaven, a place to lick wounds without the ghost of her everywhere. As the Sagrada spires shrank in the rear view of my mind, I texted her. Take your time. I'll be in Valencia. Call when you're ready to be brave. No reply. Radio silence stretched like the tracks beneath the rails, each mile a knot in my stomach. Valencia welcomed me with open arms. Its futuristic city of arts and sciences gleaming like a sci-fi promise. The Turia Gardens a green ribbon where locals picnicked under palm fronds. I wandered alone, sketching the silk-draped figures at the Phallus Festival prep. Giant caricatures destined for bonfires, symbols of burning the old to welcome the new. Fitting, I thought, as I sipped horchata in a plaza, the sweet tiger nut milk doing little to soothe the bitterness. Days blurred into a haze of forced normalcy. Mornings at the Central Market, bargaining for figs and manchego with abuela types who pinched my cheeks and called me guapa. Afternoons lost in the Fine Arts Museum, losing myself in Goya's dark visions. Saturnine figures devouring their young, mirrors to my own self-inflicted grief. Evenings on the beach at Malvarosa, toes in the sand, watching the sun bleed into the sea. I wrote letters I never sent. Dear Violet, remember that time in college when you dyed your hair purple for Halloween, and we stayed up till 4 a.m. eating Twizzlers? You said you'd never change. But people do. Love, Vic. On the 5th day, as I traced the azulejo tiles of the cathedral, my phone buzzed. Not her, my sister Sophia, back in Seattle, her voice crackling over the Atlantic. Vic? You sound like hell. What's Tyler got to do with this? Turns out Violet had called her, spilling half confessions in a voicemail that painted me as the villain. The seductress who'd lured her straight-arrow sister into sin. Sophia, ever the mediator, patched us into a three-way call that felt like an intervention. Violet, talk to me, I said, voice steady as I could manage, perched on a stone bench amid the scent of blooming jasmine. Her end was muffled like she was underwater. I'm in Madrid. Saw Tyler. It was nice. Familiar. We walked Retiro Park, fed the ducks like old times. But Vic, every laugh felt hollow. Like I was acting in a play I outgrew. Sophia jumped in, her therapist tone kicking in. Then why not come clean? Tell him the truth. Because what if he hates me? What if everyone does? Mom and Dad. They're already side-eyeing my extended vacation. And the Kensingtons? They'd disown me faster than you can say country club. I swallowed hard. This isn't about them. It's about you. Us. There was a pause heavy as cathedral bells. I miss you, Vic. So much it hurts. But I'm scared. Scared's okay. Just don't let it win. We hung up with promises, her to think, me to wait. But waiting is its own hell. A slow drip of what-ifs. I extended my stay in Valencia, diving into a volunteer gig at a local LGBTQ+ center, teaching English to queer immigrants who'd fled worse storms than mine. Their stories, whispered over shared cigarettes and strong coffee, were lifelines. A Syrian trans woman rebuilding in the shadows, a Cuban artist whose murals screamed defiance. Amor no tiene fronteras. One told me, her tattooed arms a map of battles won. Love has no borders. I clung to that. 2 weeks later, Violet showed up unannounced, materializing on the beach like a mirage in cut-off shorts and a faded Bruins tee, her hair windswept and eyes shadowed. I left him, she said simply, dropping her duffel at my feet. Mid-dinner at this fancy asador. Told him everything about us, about me figuring it out. He cried, called me confused. Maybe I am. But I'm done pretending. I stood, sand shifting under my feet, afraid to touch her lest she vanish. And now? She stepped closer, her hand finding mine, fingers lacing like they belonged there. Now I want to try. For real. No more running. We didn't rush back to Barcelona. Instead, we holed up in a cheap pension overlooking the port, days melting into a tentative rhythm, mornings tangled in 300 thread count sheets that weren't ours, her lips tracing the freckles on my neck like constellations. afternoons exploring the Silk Exchange, her head on my shoulder as we marveled at Moorish arches, whispering futures in the cool stone halls. What if we move here? She'd muse, feeding me bites of fidua at a harborside spot. You paint murals, I teach English. Build something ours. It felt fragile like sea glass, beautiful but breakable. We video called our families, her parents' frozen smiles hiding thunderclouds, my nana muttering Dio mio before hanging up. But we had each other, and in those stolen weeks it was enough. Violet bloomed, tentative at first. A rainbow pin on her backpack, a quiet she in casual convos with hostile mates. I watched, heart swelling, as she shed her armor piece by piece. But Spain, for all its romance, has a way of unearthing buried truths. One humid August evening as we strolled the Jardin del Turia, fireflies dancing like errant stars, her phone lit up with a Madrid area code. She ignored it, but the next call came during a vermouth hour at a corner bar. The screen flashing Tyler. This time she stepped outside, voice low but carrying on the breeze. I followed, heart in my throat, catching fragments. Not fair, you can't just drop that bomb and ghost. I deserve to know if it's real. Her back to me, shoulders hunched, the neon sign from a nearby taberna casting her in red light, like a warning. When she turned face-streaked, I knew. He knows people here. Sent a friend to check on me. Saw us at the market holding hands. Now it's everywhere. Group chats, old sorority sisters. Violet's gone full rainbow. Rage flickered, hot and unfamiliar. And you? What do you say? I told him it's true. That I love you. Her voice broke. But Vic, he's threatening to tell my parents. The whole Kensington empire. Dad's firm, mom's charities. It's not just gossip. It's leverage. We fought that night, words like shrapnel. Me accusing her of fragility, her lashing out at my easy coming out. You don't get it. Your family's messy, sure, but mine's a fortress. One crack and it crumbles. I stormed out, wandering the moonlit gardens until exhaustion pulled me to a bench, where I sat till dawn, the riverbed dry as my resolve. She found me there, coffee in hand, eyes puffy. I'm sorry. I panicked. We really talked for hours, the sun climbing like a hesitant ally. She admitted the fear wasn't just external. It was the voice in her head, the straight girl echo chamber whispering imposter. But loving you? That's the truest thing I've ever felt. We patched it, fragile as before, heading back to Barcelona with a pact. Face the fire together. Little did we know the blaze was just igniting. En route we stopped in Tarragona. Ancient Roman ruins, a fitting backdrop for our own Colosseum of emotions. Amid amphitheaters where gladiators once bled. We made love under a canopy of stars, slow, sacred. Her body arching like a question answered. I choose you, she breathed, and I believed her. Back in the city, normalcy beckoned. Job hunts, visa talks. I landed a gig illustrating for a local mag. She tutored expat kids. Our flat felt like home again. Walls adorned with my sketches of her. Laughing over gelato, fierce in debate. But Tyler's shadow loomed. Emails escalated to calls. Voicemails laced with pleas turning venomous. You're throwing away everything for a fling, Vi. Come back before it's too late. One night, after a particularly brutal shift, I came home to find her packing. Not fleeing, preparing. I'm going to Madrid, she said, zipping a bag with trembling hands. To end this. Tell him face to face. It's over. For good. Pride swelled, mixed with terror. Want backup? She shook her head, kissing my forehead. This is mine to close. Trust me. Always. She left at dawn, the train whistle a mournful goodbye. I spent the day distracting. Yoga in Parc de la Ciutadella. Tapas with new friends from the center. By evening, as I lit candles on our balcony, Jasmine scented her favorite, my phone rang. Unknown number. Vic? It's me. Her voice was steel, edged with something victorious. I did it. Told him everything. He raged, cried, begged. But I walked out. Free. Relief crashed over me like a wave. Proud of you. Train back soon. Overnight. Be there by morning. Love you. Love you more. But as I hung up, a chill settled. Freedom tastes sweet, but revenge? That's a bitter chaser. The morning she returned, Barcelona woke with a ferocity that mirrored my unease. A sirocco wind whipping in from the Sahara. dusting the streets in red haze and turning the air thick as unspoken fears. I met her at Sant Station, weaving through the crush of tourists and commuters, my heart a drumbeat against my ribs. There she was, stepping off the platform in that yellow sundress from our first kiss, duffel slung over her shoulder, face alight with a grin that could part clouds. "Miss me?" she teased, dropping her bag to pull me into an embrace that erased the miles. We tumbled home in a cab, hands clasped, her head on my shoulder as the city blurred by. Gaudy ads for La Liga matches, graffiti-tagged walls proclaiming no Pazarin. In the flat, we celebrated with lazy abandon. Fresh pan con tomate and jamon from the corner shop, her feet in my lap as we binge-watched Paquita Salas on her laptop, laughing till our sides ached. "To us," she toasted with a glass of tsakali, the fizzy Basque wine bubbling like our future. No more ghosts. For a fortnight it held. We fell into a groove that felt dangerously domestic. Shared grocery runs to Mercat de Santa Catarina, where we'd haggle over artichokes and steal kisses amid the fishmongers' shouts. Sunset jogs along the Bogatel beach, her ponytail swinging like a metronome to our easy chatter. Violet even started a blog, Americanas in España, chronicling our mishaps with charming candor. The time I burned the tortilla de patatas to a crisp, or how she butchered Catalan at the fruteria. Comments trickled in, a mix of envy and encouragement, including from queer expats who'd walked similar paths. "You're brave," one wrote. She read it aloud, eyes shining. "We both are." I watched her unfurl, petal by petal. At a pride mixer in Gracia, rainbow flags snapping in the breeze, she danced with abandon, her hand firm in mine as we swayed to indie pop under string lights. No hesitation, no glances over shoulders. "This is me now," she whispered, nuzzling my neck. "Thanks to you." But gratitude can curdle into resentment when winds shift. Tyler's silence stretched too long, a vacuum sucking in doubts. Then one drizzly Tuesday, as I prepped for a gallery show, my first solo exhibit, Abstract Oils of Fractured Hearts and Mended Skies, Violet burst through the door, pale as the marble in the Liceu Opera House. In her hand a manila envelope, postmarked Madrid. "What is it?" I asked, wiping paint from my hands on a rag. She sank onto the bed, envelope trembling. "Open it." Inside, printouts of emails, screenshots from a private Facebook group, Kensington family friends, sorority alums, her dad's golf buddies. The thread was a bonfire of vitriol. Violet's shacking up with some dyke artist in Spain. Total phase, bet she's back by Christmas. Photos attached. Grainy shots of us at the market, my arm around her waist. Another from the beach, her lips on my cheek. Captions like knives. "Slumming it for the gram?" And at the bottom Tyler's handle, "Told you she'd crack." Praying for her soul. My stomach roiled. How? Anonymous tip to the group. "But it's him. Has to be." Her voice cracked, not with anger but defeat. "I thought it was over." "It's not." I knelt before her, taking her hands, cold as the Mistral. "This is their poison, not ours." But poison seeps. That night, she barely touched her fabata stew, staring at the wall like it held indictments. What if they're right? What if this us is just rebellion? I mean, look at me, preppy Violet valedictorian now. What? The family black sheep. I pulled her close, her tears hot on my collarbone. "You're you. The girl who quotes Neruda at 3 a.m., who cries at the Wizard of Oz every time. Love doesn't rewrite your story. It deepens it." She clung tighter, but the seed was planted. Days later her blog posts faltered. Entries shorter, laced with nostalgia for Cali sunsets and family barbecues. She started fielding calls from home. Her mom voice syrupy sweet, probing about that nice boy Tyler, and when she'd settle down. "Just checking in, honey. We miss you." Violet would hang up, brittle as spun sugar, retreating to the balcony with a cigarette she'd sworn off years ago. I tried bridging the gap, surprise tickets to a flamenco show at El Tablao Cordobés, where the dancers' stomps echoed our inner turmoil, her skirt swirling like flames licking at resolve. Afterward, over sangria in a dimly lit bodega, I broached it. "Talk to me, Vi. What's eating you?" She swirled her glass, fruit slices bobbing like drowned hopes. "Guilt. For them for disappointing. And for you. Dragging you into this mess. I'm here because I choose to be." I covered her hand with mine. "But if you need space." No. Fierce, sudden. I need you. More than ever. We made love that night with the urgency born of fear. Bodies a bulwark against the creeping dark. Her whispers, I love you, Vic, God I do, were vows etched in skin. But vows crack under pressure, and pressure was mounting. The gallery opening was a triumph. My canvases hung in the Izample's sleek white space, critics murmuring approval, champagne flutes clinking like applause. Violet stood beside me, radiant in a borrowed black dress, introducing me with a pride that swelled my chest. My girlfriend's work, it's like she paints the soul's underbelly. Friends toasted, strangers lingered, the room alive with possibility. Then the door swung open, admitting a ghost. Tyler, tall, blonde, all-American in chinos and a button-down, like he'd wandered off a frat house porch. Flanked by two guys I vaguely recalled from her Insta, mutual friends, now allies in ambush. The air thickened, conversations faltering as eyes darted. Violet froze, glass midway to her lips. What the hell? He smiled, all teeth and false charm. Heard about the show. Thought I'd support. Congrats, Beak. His gaze slid to her, oily. Vi, looking good. Spain agrees with you. My blood boiled, but I held steady, arm around her waist. Appreciate the well wishes. Enjoy the art. But he didn't leave. Circled like a shark, dropping barbs wrapped in compliments. These pieces raw, huh? Like that summer in Big Sur, remember Vi? Laughter from his entourage, tinny and invasive. Violet's grip on my elbow whitened her knuckles. Finally, in a side room amid abstract nudes, she confronted him. I hovered nearby, heart hammering. Why? After everything. To save you, he said, voice low, paternalistic. This city's a bubble. Reality bites, Vi. Your folks, they're worried sick. I flew in to bring you home. I'm not a child. Or a prize. His face hardened. You're confused. That, nodding at me. It's a detour. Come back with me. We'll fix this. She laughed, bitter. Fix? Like erasing who I am. For your own good. He stepped closer, hand on her arm. She jerked away. Get out. He did, but not before hissing. You'll regret this. All of it. The show ended in a blur. We fled to a late-night churros spot. Sugar a poor salve for the salt of tears. He's wrong, I murmured, wiping her cheeks. You're not confused. You're alive. She nodded, but doubt lingered in her eyes like fog over the harbor. The next days were a tightrope. Her applying for a remote paralegal gig to appease her parents, me biting my tongue on the independence it symbolized. We fought over small things, whose turn to do laundry, the thermostat in our sweltering flat, proxies for the real rift. Climax brewed on All Saints' Day when a package arrived, from her mother, filled with clippings of reparative therapy retreats in the States, a handwritten note. We love you, but this isn't you. Come home, darling. Violet read it in silence, then hurled it across the room, pages fluttering like wounded birds. I can't, she sobbed, collapsing into my arms. They're my family. And I'm your future. The words hung heavy. She pulled back, eyes searching mine. Are you? Or am I just borrowing your courage till mine runs out? The question gutted me. We spiraled, accusations flying, me too pushy, her too cowardly. By midnight, she was at the door, coat in hand. I need air. To think. Don't go back to him. A sad smile. Never. But maybe. Back to them. To sort this. Alone again, I paced the flat, the wind howling like a dirge. Hours ticked by. Dawn crept in, gray and unforgiving. No text, no call. Desperation clawed. I grabbed my jacket, hailing a cab to the airport, the one place she'd run if flight called. But she wasn't there. Not at departures, not the lounges. Panic crested as I dialed Sophia. She's gone. Help me find her. Check the cliffs, Sophia said, voice steady. She mentioned Tibidabo once, said it felt like the edge of the world. Up the funicular I went, the amusement park's relics eerie in the pre-dawn gloom. Skeletal Ferris wheel shuttered haunts. And there on the overlook, silhouette against the lightning sky, was Violet, perched on the railing, legs dangling over the abyss of Barcelona's sprawl. Vic, she whispered as I approached, voice raw. I couldn't leave. Not without you. Relief buckled my knees. I sat beside her, our shoulders touching. Then don't. She turned, tears carving tracks. I called Mom. Told her everything, no filters. She cried, hung up. But it's done. No more hiding. The sun breached the horizon, gilding the city below. What now? Together, she said, hand in mine. Always. In the weeks that followed, our reckoning unfolded not in grand gestures, but quiet revolutions, the kind that reshape souls one dawn at a time. Violets coming out rippled outward like stones in the Mediterranean. Her parents' frosty emails thawing to cautious check-ins. Proud of your strength even if we don't understand yet. Sorority sisters unfriending then refriending with awkward emojis. Tyler's barbs fading to blocked numbers. She mourned the losses. Thanksgiving Zooms with empty chairs. The ghost of family barbecues. But grieved forward, channeling ache into action. She joined a queer book club in Pobl SEC. Devouring Audre Lorde and Alison Bechdel till quotes spilled from her lips like prayers. We're not broken, she'd say, tracing my palm lines. Just bent toward the light. Me? I leaned into the canvas harder. My next series, Exiles and Anchors, born from our storms, turbulent seascapes yielding to serene harbors, colors bleeding from bruise purple to dawn gold. The show sold out at a co-op gallery in the Raval. Critics calling it a testament to love's resilient architecture. Violet beamed from the front row. Her presence my North Star. Life in Barcelona wove us tighter. A lease renewal on the flat, now with her succulents crowding my easel. Tandem bike rides through the labyrinth of Barri Gothic, dodging tourists for gelato at Amarino. We adopted a stray cat, black as midnight, named Luna for her nocturnal serenades, and argued over whose turn it was to scoop the litter, domestic spats dissolving into laughter and make-up kisses. This is it, she'd murmur, curled against me as rain pattered the roof. The real thing. Yet humanity's arc bends slow and scars linger. Her parents visited in spring, stiff at first, her dad in khakis clashing with the chaos of La Rambla, Mom clutching pearls like talismans. We hosted a tentative dinner. Pyambi Tomakit in Calcuts, me playing translator through awkward silences. Victoria, her father said over kava, eyes appraising my paint-flecked jeans. You've given her wings. High praise Kensington style. By dessert, her mom was sharing recipes, tentative bridges built on turned crumbs. My family came too, Sophia and her wife, Marco the Nana's ragazzo, a whirlwind of Italian chaos descending on Placca rail. Nana crossed herself at the sight of us holding hands, then pinched Violet's cheeks. Bella ragazza, you make my Vicky smile. Over pasta alla norma in our kitchen stories flowed. My coming out retold not as tragedy but triumph. Violet soaked it in, her hand squeezing mine under the table. Family isn't blood, she whispered later. It's chosen fire. We traveled deeper into Spain's veins. A road trip to Andalusia, where Granada's Alhambra whispered of forbidden loves in its arabesque halls, Violet's fingers interlacing mine amid the Miradores. In Seville we swayed to flamenco in Triana's caves, her tears mirroring the dancer's duende raw unfiltered soul. I get it now, she said, as we wandered orange blossom-scented alleys. The beauty in breaking. Back in Barcelona, milestones marked our growth. Her first tattoo. A tiny rainbow threaded with olive branches on her wrist, inked at a queer-owned shop in El Antic. My proposal, not rings but vows etched on vellum, read aloud on that rain-soaked street from our unraveling. In storms and sun I choose you. Always. She cried, yes, tumbling from her lips like grace. But no stories without shadows, and ours carried a poignant one. Tyler resurfaced, not in rage but ruin. A late summer email forwarded from a mutual. Vi, I'm sorry. Therapy's kicking my ass, turns out I was the confused one. Saw your blog, you're glowing. Be happy. Attached, a photo of him at a Pride March in San Diego, sign reading ally in progress. Violet read it aloud, voice thick. Hate's just fear in disguise. Forgive? I asked. Not yet. But maybe someday. Humaneness, after all, means holding space for redemption. As autumn gilded the plane trees along the Passaic de Llobregat, we faced our biggest leap, permanence. Visas teetering, we pooled savings for a down payment on a minuscule piso in Gracia. High ceilings, a balcony for morning cafe, walls begging for our marks. Moving day was chaos. Boxes of books and brushes tumbling from the van, Luna yowling in protest, neighbors clapping from fire escapes like it was a parade. That night, amid pizza boxes and half-unpacked chaos, we danced to La Vie en Rose on bare floors, her head on my chest. "You're my unexpected," she said, eyes like the sea at twilight. "And you're my everything." The story doesn't end here. No tidy bows on by karma. Doubts whisper on bad days, when her accent thickens with homesickness or my brush stalls mid-stroke. We argue over politics, her optimism clashing my cynicism, or whose turn it is to call home. But we return always to the core. Two women, once straights and curves in opposition, now intertwined. Spain taught us that love isn't a straight line. It's a camino winding through sierras and sorrows, demanding you walk it anyway. Violet, the girl who swore she was arrow straight, became my compass. And me? I found home not in Seattle's rains or Barcelona's blaze, but in the space between her breaths. In the end, it's not about the night that changed everything. It's the mornings after, the quiet choices that build empires from embers. We're still writing ours, page by imperfect page. And damn, it's a beautiful mess.